Welcome to How Was I Supposed to Know That? This is a podcast designed for entrepreneurs to give us an opportunity to share our stories and give a little bit of perspective to other entrepreneurs who are out there going through some of the same things that we've gone through. My name is Bernard Williams, and I've got the honor to be joined here today with my friend Matt Mittman of ReMax Ready from Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
Hey, Bernard, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Matt. Really good to see you here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about ReMax Ready?
Yeah, ReMax Ready is an office I have in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, and it's made up of about 35 to 40 real estate agents. And but it was originally started with myself and Eric Railing and one agent. So we have slowly grown over the last 10 or so years.
So you've been at this for 10 years then, right?
10 years from the office, 20 years as a realtor. So been in the industry just 20 plus years.
So take me back to the decision to launch your own company.
Yeah, to launch my own company. So I'm very fortunate to be partnered with Eric Railing, and I didn't have an interest in launching my own company. I'm like, wow, how can you be responsible for other people? Like, this industry is hard enough. We're busting our tail making it as real estate agents, Eric and myself. And he's like, we'll be all right. We'll open an office. And I was like, man, I couldn't imagine it. And so he pushed me off the ledge. And but I love it now. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad he pushed me. Now an opportunity to help other people reach their goals is it's the best. It's the best.
So how long did it take you to make that decision to actually allow yourself to be pushed and take the leap into that business ownership role?
Yeah, Eric knows I make decisions slowly. So it was probably a couple years of him just saying something, and then finally took the leap. Met with some people, talked to some people. Look, everybody's been down the road. Like, there's no surprises here, and then just took the chance. Glad I did. Glad I had someone in my life who pushed me. That is one of the. I'm so fortunate to be around him.
So was there a single argument or a single reason, something that pushed you over?
No, it was what's it called? Death by a thousand cuts. Like, slow. In my heart, I'm an entrepreneur. When I was 18 years old, I went to Bucknell University, and I was walking through the lounge one day. I mean, here I am, my first year at Bucknell University, and it's winter break, and there's a position on the board. It says, run your own painting company, right? I'm 18, and I did it, and I figured it out. I interviewed, I got the painting franchise, and that was like the start of the entrepreneurial journey. So I had it in me. So when it came, and then I did it as a realtor. All right, grow your own business, be as successful as you want to be. If you fail, it's on you. You're responsible for your success and failure. And so it was in me. I just needed to be pushed in the real estate field. So it was slow and steady, and he got me in.
That's great. So in that first year, did Eric already have a company that he brought you into?
No, we were both realtors, and we started a company together.
Okay. So while he was pushing you for that couple-year period, he hadn't actually taken a leap yet himself.
No, we went in the journey together, and we started out. I've actually known him since first grade, so
okay.
We've known each other a long time, and so we jumped in together. We actually, for the first year, had a third partner who actually already had an existing business, and then after that first year, we decided just to go on our own, completely on our own, Eric and I.
So for the first year, it was the three of you. And you joined an existing business that someone else had?
Correct.
Okay. And then did you, at the end of that year, did you and Eric peel off to form a new business?
Exactly. We peeled off. We formed our own business in Conshohocken, and it's been a grind ever since. Some success, some failures, but continuing that growth process, both as a business and from a revenue and profitability standpoint, but most importantly as a person. That has been. I'm glad I don't look back. You see some of those quotes where people look back in life with regret, and I don't want to be one. I don't want to be one of those people who limit the amount of regret I look back with. And so fortunate.
That's great. So you get to work with one of your childhood friends. You're doing something that it seems like you love. You seem passionate about it. Now on the day-to-day level, how do you and Eric divide up the work?
Yeah, we get asked that question quite a bit. It's been, because we've known each other so long, it's been natural. He's more outgoing, and he's more the front of the business. He knows a lot of people. He's great with people. He's a leader in the real estate industry. And I do kind of more behind the scenes, some of the financial stuff, some of the blocking and tackling, the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, some of the the paperwork and all. So he's the front of it, I'm the back of it. Kind of if you like viewed a restaurant as well. The people who there's someone out there who's meet and greeting all the customers and everybody coming in that night, checking on their meal, and there's people who are preparing a delicious meal behind the scenes.
Right.
I'm behind the scenes. It's how we would break up our roles. And every year we talk about it. And as we grew, the most interesting challenge, again, we know each other really well, but the most, part of growth is letting go. As an entrepreneur, you feel like some of us feel that your clients only want to work with you. And then you start to learn that, no, they just want good service. They want to be taken care of. They want it done the right way, whether it's me or it's person A, B, or C, as long as it's done what I would call the ReMax ready way. That's what they care about. And so we've divided up the responsibilities. Each year we talk about it, and so far so good.
You make a really interesting point that I find myself talking about a lot. As an attorney, I think it's very similar to residential realtor. There's this idea that the relationship is important, and that when I'm being hired for me and for my personal experience, for my perspective. And I would think that in the real estate industry, it's similar. Is it not, or what's been your experience in that regard?
Yeah, that's what I feel like. They want to be taken care of the right way, and you build a brand and you do it yourself, and people know you and what you're good and how you represent them and how you take care of them. That's what you. They definitely want that, but then you realize that there's others who can do that. It's humbling to realize that, wait a second, there's a time when I'm going to grow this business where they're not even going to want to work with me, because they know they're getting it done the ReMax ready way and they're getting taken care of. So it's not about me. It's humbling when you realize that you've built the brand, you grow the brand. It's actually everybody who builds the brand, in my opinion, but there's other people who can do it as good and actually better than you. I've found it so amazing that I have, I'll get a past client who refers someone, and I have 100% had situations where I refer them to somebody in the office, and I have no doubt they did a better job. Right? Maybe it was the type of housing, maybe it was the situation they ran into. And I'm going, wow, if I didn't put them in touch with that person, I could have done it. Don't get me wrong. I could have done it. I could have done it the right way, but I put them in touch with someone and they actually did it better. Their communication style matched up. Their timing of everything matched up. So it's actually better.
Now, how did you first come to the realization that it doesn't have to be you doing all the work, that you can delegate, that you can build out a team?
Boy, it's been a while and it's tough. It's tough. Now I teach it. So now I teach it to the other agents. So maybe someone's an agent by themselves and they want to grow a team. And it's like, hey, someone else can do it as good as you, whether it's the behind in the office work stuff or it's out showing the houses. There's other people's. But in the first part, you got to do is slow down and actually write it down. Like, what do you want that person to do? And so I just found it out early on, just through different scenarios and trying it out. And ultimately, again, what I talked about, taking the leap, pushing myself off the edge and saying, hey, so-and-so can help you. Or Eric I might help someone Eric knew. And so it's slow. It's slow and I use the words painful and humbling at the same time.
Right. And how are you able to maintain relationships with your clients with this approach?
That's part of growing the brand. So certainly try to stay in touch from an office perspective, but in the real estate world, I want, if you have 35 agents in an office, I want 35 successful people. So I actually want the brand to be built with them, right? Because if they're successful, then I'm successful. So it's kind of an interesting question you ask, because yeah, you want to stay in touch. Because the truth is, I'll tell you, so many failures along the way. Let me tell you about a failure, is that I have someone I helped a long time. They come in and they refer maybe a son or daughter or something like that. And I refer them to a great agent in the office. And that agent takes it, helps them buy the house and all that stuff. But a lot of agents leave the industry. So all of a sudden, I had this great relationship. I transferred it to another realtor, and they took care of them. And then they left the business. And now my brand is a little disconnected. So that taught me a lesson. Like, there is still, from a ReMax ready way, I want to stay in touch, but also I want to let the agents build their brands and their businesses and let them be successful.
So you've used a term a few times now, and I've got to ask you about it. The ReMax ready way. So tell me more about the ReMax ready way. Tell me more. Is it a system?
I would like to say it's a written down, defined system that would be right out of the entrepreneurial book, but that's not the truth. Ursula, who has worked with Eric and I in our office for many, many years, she actually said it in this past year. And we always talk about it. Like we grew up, like we come from the service mentality, serving others, helping others. Like that's just normal. And at points we tried to define it. You have your mission, visions, values, and all that stuff. So we tried to do it the book way. And we were just in a meeting. It was Eric, Ursula, and myself. And she's like, and I'm trying to say the customer service way and be formal about it. And just the way just resonated. She's like, it's the ReMax Ready way. So I would love to tell you that there's a written down checklist of systems. Eric knows it. I know it. Ursula knows it. But it's just it's the way you take care of people and you help others and you put them in positions to be successful.
But it sounds like you do have a mission statement and vision and values that you've defined.
We the answer is yes. We've gone through those phases. We've gone through people have helped us out and said, hey, you should have mission, visions, and values. And yes, we do have them, but the downside is they can get to be too long, even if they're one page. And that's why I go back to the ReMax Ready way. So it was funny. In this same meeting, Eric pulled up, he said, I was like, Ursula, you said it exactly right. It is the ReMax Ready way. And Eric pulled up the mission, visions, and values. So what I found real interesting about that is for Ursula and myself, the ReMax Ready way makes sense. In Eric's, there's left brain, there's right brain people. And in Eric's brain, the one page with the mission, visions, values makes sense. So it's just a combination of all that stuff. I would love to be able to tell you I could articulate the mission, vision, values. I'm standing here. I should know the one page. I don't. That's the truth. But I do know the ReMax Ready way.
Do you think they get to the same place?
100% they get to the same place. It's just written down and articulated different. And the advantage of having it written down is accountability, right? I talk about the team of Eric, Ursula, and myself and being successful. But the hard part when you really care about others is accountability and all that stuff. So when you have something written out, just like Eric's is written out, like now we can talk about it. Right, the ReMax Ready way it's qualitative. It's it's not direct, and maybe I saw that Eric didn't call someone back, which is rare, or maybe that I feel that he's not serving someone. I would say, hey, you didn't do it the ReMax Ready way, or in his case, I could point to one of the values and say, hey, you didn't handle it this way. So I think there's a lot of benefit. I do think I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but there is the benefit of having it written down in a little more detail for accountability's sake.
Right. One of the suggestions that someone made to me was to have a core value speech where, maybe you record it, maybe you do it live every time, but it's just a statement from the owner that just expresses, maybe it's a story from the owner that expresses the culture of the company.
Oh, man.
It sounds like maybe the ReMax Ready way is something similar to that.
I think we're going, yes, that's such a great point you bring up because we all learn and remember stories so much better. Right, so I think you're going down the right path, and I think we're evolving. I think that's the truth. We had the checklist of items, and then it evolved to the ReMax Ready way, what Ursula said, and now I'm here articulating it. And yeah, maybe the next level is making it into all right. The checklist is a little too much. The one line statement is too little. Now let's get something where we can articulate it even better.
So this is fascinating, and it's and I'm very aware that I'm speaking to somebody who has 35 employees. They're all employees, right?
Independent contractors. In the real estate industry in Pennsylvania. Yep.
That is an important distinction. But you've got a team of 35. And when you started out, it was just, after that first year, it was just you and Eric. Right?
And one agent.
And one agent. Were all three of you operating as agents?
All three of us were operating as agents, yep.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about the growth. How did you, what were the steps to get from 3 people to 35 people?
The steps were slow and steady, although I wanted it to be fast and on a hockey stick type curve. But the truth is, you said it so well, we were all, in our day-to-day, our actions were as realtors. And then Eric and I are like, well, let's grow this thing. But each day, if we're helping people buy, sell, and rent properties, well, wait, how much time are we spending on growing the office, recruiting, bringing in, training new salespeople and all that stuff. So it was the second person. I when I started my real estate career, it was I spent time in the real estate industry, but I also worked at the boathouse in Conshohocken, and I met a great friend there, and she happened to be our second realtor. I knew her from past working at a restaurant. It was awesome, and she wanted to get a real estate license, so that was number 2. And then you just knew a couple people here and there, and that was 3, 4, and 5. And what the biggest challenge was Eric and I changing our actions and our day-to-day. And the truth is, you need money to live, me money to survive. So it's like, well, the helping people buy and sell a home and earning that commission was critical to our livelihood. But yet over here, we're trying to build someone. I think today, I mean, I feel a little old saying it, today people, it's like a side hustle, even though it's the same business. Like the side hustle would be, all right, well, you got to go and recruit and do all that stuff. Meanwhile, you're running your sales business. So it was slow and steady. It wasn't all at once. Like, I can't believe how many agents we have. We've gotten just about to 40, and then it comes down. People come in and out of the industry. People retire and things like that. People move, relocate, and things like that. But it was slow and steady, and it was powerful, memorable lesson that, you draw it out on the Excel sheet, and it doesn't go that way. It never goes that way. You get a ballpark, but it just made a lot of mistakes along the way.
So it sounds like you wanted to be large right from the beginning.
Yeah. Wanted to be, had all these grand visions, and then you grind it out, and then you learn. Yeah. I mean, we still operate. I can say I still operate like we're one other realtor. It's just in my DNA. People say, hey, you have, even listening to you say, hey, you have 35 agents because you've grown. Or it's like when you raise a child and you see them every day, you don't see how tall they get and how their body, because you see them every day. And all of a sudden you run into Aunt Joan or Uncle Joe, and they're like, oh my gosh, how big you've gotten. And you're like, it's just because they haven't seen them in 18 months, 12 months. And you see that. And it's just, I wanted to be big right away. But boy, I will, some agents in our office they're on a trajectory to open their own offices. And, instead of going, and boy, I would never want to lose them. Never want to lose them because they're great people and all that stuff. But based on what happened in my life, I'm going to be the first to tell them, hey, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this, pay attention to this. I'm going to be the first one training, coaching, and educating them. Say, hey, I want you to be successful, but watch out for these things because it's, and I should have mentioned this before. You talked about that transition. Being a realtor and serving buyers and sellers is a different skill set than managing an office. And fortunately, I don't believe I have those skill sets by myself, but working with Eric and Ursula collectively, we do. But boy, it's a different skill set. It's different. It's just different.
So you alluded to some of the lessons learned that you would teach your aspiring real estate entrepreneurs. Can you share any of those with us now?
Yeah, absolutely. One is the skill set. I would just remind them, just because you are great at helping buyers and sellers does not mean you're going to be great at running an office, because it's a different skill. You might be better or worse. It's just a different skill set. I mean, when you have 35 agents, you are managing 35 emotions. So, somebody's winning the championship, so to speak, that day. So you're there, rah-rah, and somebody's down in the dumps. You got to be able to balance that level of emotions running the office. The second thing I would talk about is communication. Communication. Stop hiding behind these emails and texts, one-way communication, without body language, without tonality. They say it's less than 10% of communication. And I will say it because it's so simple, but there's a lot to that statement. It's one, having it. It's another thing, having it at the right time when you're ready, right? Catch me on a bad day. Maybe that's not the best time. And I just heard it so well from a friend of mine. And there's also something about letting the conversation end. And what I mean like that is, you ever go into, I might be running an office and someone did a great job and you're like, hey, so-and-so, you did a great job. But hey, maybe you could pay attention to this or this. Or someone did that, and there's that word but, and it lessens it. No, you got to let them leave the situation successful. Or if it's a bad situation, let them know. Let them know. And then you have a follow-up conversation later that day, next day, later that week. But I think too often we do not let the conversation end. So it's about having communication, one, and two would be letting the conversation end.
That's very insightful. I can't help but think of all my
my old football coaches, who I wish would have applied that second lesson. There was always a but.
Always,
Always a but.
And if you pay attention, if someone's listening to this podcast and they leave, pay attention to how many buts there are. Whether it's you doing it, someone you work with, somebody you're at home with, and it's but, because it's a really hard thing to let the conversation end. It's easy to say it, but it's really hard because it's like, Bernard, I got a lot of things to say to you, and I want you to be successful, but I'm over here, here, and here. No. Let that, man, they did something good. Let it go. Let them take that home. Let it sink in. Because it's the truth. This is honest communication. This is candor, right? But it's let the conversation so they can feel that instead of leaving the conversation with, well, yeah, they did. Bernard did a great job, but and the human brain naturally thinks negatively, so we're focused on the negatives. We're not sitting there leaving it. I grew up in the coaching system where it was positive, negative, positive. Right? But as I've evolved, I'm like, nah, I think people are sitting with I mean, it works. I mean, I was successfully coached people I admire. I did some coaching and in the sports, in the sport of wrestling and stuff. But it's boy, to your point about the football, like let the conversation end. They come off the field, give them that positive or negative message, either or. So this isn't just about being nice all the time, and let that sink in.
It's good. It's good stuff. Reflecting again on your journey and on this really explosive growth from 3 people to 35. I mean, it's a tenfold growth in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And during that 10-year period, we experienced a worldwide pandemic, right? Can you talk a little bit about the impact of the pandemic on your business and on the size of your company, and then how you recovered from that?
Yeah. I'm going to answer that. There's a lot to that for me personally. January 28th, 2020, my 20-month-old son passed away unexpectedly, went to bed and didn't wake up. And that is crushing. No other way to say it. Yeah. So I'm trying to survive in this world. And then 2 months later, the pandemic hit. So my life's been turned upside down. I'm a business owner, and my life is forever changed upside down. And then 2 months later, everybody's life is upside down. And the best answer I can give you and the truthful answer to the pandemic is having the right partner. Like that's the truth. How do you survive through the loss of a child and the pandemic within 2 months of each other? You have the right people around you. Like that's how do you make it? You have the right people around you. I couldn't get off the couch. So again, it's having, whether it's a partner, whether it's team members in the office, people who just love you and just going to take care of you. There is no rule book or playbook for that. It's just having the right people around you. So then when I am ready to, so for my experience, when I finally was ready to put one foot in front of the other, it wasn't completely gone. Pandemic sadly crushed a lot of businesses. We were able to maintain and then and actually grow a little bit. Eric was able to do that a little bit, and then I was able to jump back in.
I should tell the audience that Matt and I do know each other. We've got a personal relationship beyond the podcast. So I was aware of that personal tragedy. I just want to thank you for your candor and your honesty and for the positivity that you just exude. I haven't gone through what you have and what you've been able to accomplish is amazing. And I'll leave it at there. I'll leave it at that. But just thank you for the example that you set for me as a father and a business person.
I appreciate that, and I will continue to share Julian's story to help try to make a difference in this world.
So as you think about the next 10 years, I'm sure there's a lot that will happen that we can't predict. But as entrepreneurs, we're planners. I mean, it sounds like day one of your business, you had a spreadsheet, you wanted to grow, and you had a plan that you were going to put into action. As you look at the next 10 years and think about what that plan will entail, what's in store for ReMax Ready?
It's one of the areas we need to improve on. Eric and I get together each year, and we talk about our goals and our actions and our habits we want to create for sure. And it's been growth over the last couple of years. And ironically, in the real estate industry, Generally, it was down 23, 27% in the greater Philadelphia area from a unit sale perspective. So we get together and we talk about it from a yearly perspective. Interestingly enough, we've received, some people reach out about, hey, I'm looking to retire. I have an office. What do you want to do? So just had a conversation here and there about that. But we need to do a better job in the next, what's the vision for the 10 years? I can tell you what the vision is for next year, 100%. But what it is for the next 10 years, it's such a great point you bring up because, you get into this phase of where you're getting in and getting excited and you get so lost I got so lost in the grind, and that you ask that question, it's like, wow, where does the next 10 years go? And it's a lot to think about. So I don't have an exact plan. I certainly have yearly goals. And, I was just listening to a speaker, and she had the audience raise their hands. Hey, who has their 2024 business plan? And most people had it and all that stuff. She's great. Who has the 2025 business plan? And nobody raised their hand. And I just listened to this within the last week, and I was like, what a great point. What a great point. Similar to your question. Like 10 years is kind of far out. Like, oh man, like 10 years is a long time. And I was like, that was a really good point she brought up. What's the 2025 business plan? Like you have 24. And you brought up a great point because saying, hey, you had all this stuff written out in the beginning. You're 100% right. And then it gets all mixed up and mushy and all that stuff. But why don't we have it going forward? So I think that's something we can improve on.
It's nice to take a step back every now and then and think about where we've come and where we want to go. But I agree with you. It can be difficult to find the time to actually have that conversation with ourselves.
Yeah, really difficult. And that's why, whether it's consultants, bringing someone else in, just having the conversation gets the wheels turning. And, sadly, I've learned that life changes in an instant. And it's, just balancing all that is really hard. But you're so busy and just like yourself trying to grow it and get it and having the next person, the next team member, the next bit of growth. It's like, yeah, well, where exactly do I want this to be in 10 years? And we don't slow down enough.
Well, what about for the next year? You want to give us a couple of highlights about what to expect from ReMax Ready in 2024?
Yeah. So it's net agent growth. So we're looking to add agents to the team. Net meaning, you're going to lose some because the industry changes. The industry just took a big hit with the unit sales. So people are going to leave the industry. People are going to retire. So it's net agent growth. And it's about building our brand a little bit better, just like being here on this podcast. We do some video stuff and some real estate. So getting better content throughout the year. And those are just a couple of the things that are really, really driving us. And I mentioned before is the ReMax Ready way, and we have it's not articulated in as much detail as I want, but getting a little bit better at that. Yes, we're pretty good at it overall, but we slip a few times. So what can we do to slip one less time in the following year? Because we naturally take care of people, but we all have bad days. So one or two more things that we can do or systems we can have in place. So if where we can just get a little bit better at it.
So, Matt, if there's anybody listening to this podcast in the Philadelphia area that wants to reach you, what's the best way to reach out?
The best way to reach out is cell phone 610-960-1786 or email matt@therealestategps.com.
This has been a great conversation with Matt Mittman of ReMax Ready. Matt, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Bernard. I appreciate it.
And this has been another episode of How Was I Supposed to Know That?